Oh yeah, my name is Nathan Nestor. I'm a 3D modeler and video game developer. Yeah, I don't know much about that, so. Oh, there is. There's a game called there's a game series called America's Army, which is not like a covert operation. Like it's just like obvious. It's a game that it's a series that was created by America's Army, and it's just like a very simple shooter. It's actually pretty good when I played it. I think the last one they had was America's Army Proving Grounds, and then they subsequently ended the series. I guess it wasn't playing enough recruits. I don't know, but it was actually it was really good considering it was also free, and access how you got in the door. And the only you can pay. There's no thing you can pay for in the game. The only like thing they got out of it was like between in the loading menus they would have like just like little videos saying like this is why I joined the army, and it's just some person explaining why they joined the army. It's actually pretty inoffensive. It's very like it's like wow, this is like I don't know. It seems like okay, but it wasn't like okay. I was pretty young when I played this game, but I was like in middle school I think. But like maybe like like those army ads, and it's like really like over the top like this is not anything about like what's gonna happen in the army, where you're like it looks like some battlefield trailer, it was like like that thing. They didn't weren't like that, at least as far as I can remember. It was literally like the one I can remember. I feel like it was just someone just explaining like why I should join the army, and like I don't remember what she said, so maybe it was very like I don't know, like like very like um, extra or exaggerated or something. And I don't know, maybe that's possible, but I don't know. I don't remember thinking it was exaggerated, but I don't remember the content exactly. So yeah, could be, I guess. Yeah, yeah. What if I just look it up? Like, I wonder like what's like rawly available in terms of like if I look at like CIA involvement in video games, like something that'll like give me something. Um, World of Spycraft, NSA and CIA spy in online games. Okay, I don't really know what this is. I don't know if this is trustworthy or not. It's like just the first link. I didn't read it, but that's an interesting title. I saw that. So it was fine. I had a graduation party this week, so played some Secret Hitler. That was good. I don't really play many board games at all, though, which is the thing. And like the only like interesting board games I'd say that I've played are Secret Hitler and Catan. Other than that, I don't know what goes on in the board game world. So yeah, actually, never. I only played it twice. And I never finished it at a time. The first time it was like we were all like new to it, so it was like what's going on? So it just took forever to try to figure it out. Second time we just didn't finish it. So yeah. 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 I've been working on my website too. I don't know. So I want to have to really decide on what my domain's gonna be because I don't. Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. So basically, it's a website that aggregates video game news articles from various sources, such as like actually I have the project open, but like there's like PC Gamer, Kotaku, and stuff like that. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 sources. Potentially 13. Two of them. One of them's N4G, the other one's Games Radar. And I want specifically articles that are not reviews and they're not reviews about video games. And some of these, I use RSS feeds. I don't know if like, I think, I don't know how many people know what that is because I think like if you're like a Zoomer, you don't know what that is probably. But an RSS feed is like, I don't know how to explain it easily. It's like a how do you even explain it? It's like an email subscription list, but it's not email. That's how I guess you explain it. It's like you're subscribing for an email thing, but like instead of using an email client, you use an RSS client. Plus, like Thunderbird is an email client that also does RSS. So like I don't know, some might just do both. That's what I use. But anyways, I use RSS to get the latest articles from these sources, but some of these sources, two of them of the 13 that I want to use, like might mix in reviews and stuff like that. They don't have like separate feeds for like not review stuff, which is kind of annoying. So I might just not use those two. We'll see. But 11 is good enough, I guess. I don't know, for now at least. So 11 sources, aggregates them all into one giant article thing. So on the webpage, if you just go to it, it's not public yet, but you can just see a list of all articles in chronological order. But that's not really the good part. The good part is that I use AI to determine what's trending essentially in the past 24 hours of news. So every day I can come in and see the top 5 like trending topics. So I'm using a really old data set. I mentioned this actually last week. So the top 5 for last week were, or at least like the day of, Tuesday last week was Palworld, The Last of Us, Indiana Jones, Helldivers 2, and Alan Wake. And you can click on those topics and then it'll give you like the articles that pertain to the topics. So you'll be like, oh, what's up with Indiana Jones? How's it with video games at the moment? You can click on it, you'll see that. I think it was like some video game conference thing. They'll be showing off like some new Indiana Jones game or something. So yeah, that's the website is pretty much. I'd also like a bunch of new additional features that are not in the works yet, but some ideas are like being able to leverage AI and like have someone be able to make an account and they can like type in like, oh, I want to be notified whenever we talk about Pokemon. So every time a Pokemon article comes up, then it emails you, or maybe it doesn't email you. Maybe just you log in and you see like like your little like list of notifications. And you say, oh, if it's been a Pokemon article, and you click on it, and it brings you to the Kotaku website or whatever, for the article, stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of the general idea. Yeah, yeah. Domain name currently is Vital Game Feed. I like the idea. So I like the idea of like using the imagery of like what do you call it? Like a heartbeat monitor? You know what I'm talking about? Like the hospitals, right? It's like the pulse of like what's going on in the video game world, right? But like all nice. Like I think one of them was like Game Pulse. I like that one, but then like the domain's taken, so it's like oh, so Vital Game Feed is like basically me going over and over again, trying to figure out what domain I can get, and that one worked. So I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not really the biggest fan of it, but I mean, it's something. So we'll see. Yeah. So last time I did use the software to tell you like the 5 trending things. I haven't updated it since I've been actively working on it. So I don't know what's trending, but in terms of what I've seen, it's really nothing much, nothing too interesting. Smite 2 is coming out, I guess, finally, so that's interesting. But other than that, nothing interesting. No, yeah, I didn't know that. I'm actually really surprised. Mm. I'm Hmm. Also, I was thinking the Blu-rays are literally like the perfect, they're like the most small item, you know, like they're so good in terms of like you can pack them in so nicely, you know. It's very strange that they would get rid of all of them. I could understand like scaling down or something, you know, but like just no Blu-rays is kind of crazy. But feature film, wow. It's a good investment. Is UK specifically like a big provider of discs? Okay. Wait. Hello? Is anybody there? I, I can check on YouTube, see what it is. Yeah, podcast. All right, let's see. Do we have audio? Oh, Kakara says he can't hear him. Wait, did you get me? Oh, is this a recent thing? All right, we're on the case. We're trying to solve this. So, for those who can't hear him, we said that the stream editor thing is not responsive. So, to like, I guess him trying to turn his mic on or something. So, all right.
Okay. Oh no, it potentially was long. Okay, I'm back. Wow, I talked forever.
Wait, were we both muted, or was it just you?
I think it was just me.
Okay.
It was just me. Oh boy. Well, I made some great points about physical media and how much money it makes, and it's now forever not there. So I'll summarize it in 2 sentences. Physical media makes tons of money, more than I thought when looking at the numbers for big releases in particular. They can make 0.5 times to 1.5 times to even 2 times in really extreme cases. The box office number for these films, which is where the money is made for films, still today in 2024, versus streaming, where no money is made pretty much at all. So...
Was that intentionally actually 2 sentences? That was really long.
I think I was able to string it all together.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. I was like, wait, there's actually 2 sentences.
One run-on sentence. And the news that pertained to was that Best Buy's got rid of its physical media section, which is crazy to me because I don't associate Best Buy with anything but Blu-rays. And I feel like pretty much everyone else maybe only thinks of like really advanced sound systems and TVs like that they probably can't afford.
We live in such a bad society in terms of like buying options that if there's something I want to buy that's like technology related, I do go to Best Buy even as further than Walmart because I'm like I'd rather not support Walmart because they're just larger. That's the only but like
I can get behind that.
Yeah.
Yes, I do the same thing too. I even discriminate between how like 2 people are big and one is just like twice as big. I'll still go to the smaller.
Right, yeah. Gotta help Best Buy out. They can't even sell CDs anymore. Come on.
Wait, do they sell audio discs?
I don't know. I've never gone there to buy CDs. I don't know if they do that.
I feel like they do. So maybe I don't know if they're keeping that. That'd be wild if they're keeping audio discs.
The margins would be worse for sure because like they're just cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting question.
Interestingly enough, the Blu-ray box is rectangular, but CDs are circular, which means you want to put them in a like square box, right? What's the point of that?
I think it's because of the movie poster aspect ratio.
Oh, I see.
Which might be antiquated. I don't care about the shape of the box. I just want the physical media. So
now they're kind of stuck with it because people who collect movies or whatever, or not even collect, just who have Blu-rays, right? It's like now their shelves are made for a certain size or whatever, right?
That's true.
It's like how it is with like jewel cases or whatever. Like the design can't really be changed. At least if it's changed, it has to be the same size. So effectively, it can't be changed because Oh, got some CDs there. Nice.
Yeah, no, I just grabbed
Blu-rays, whatever.
The top two that were on my shelf for whatever reason. So, yeah, no, it's tough out there, guys. It's tough. It's tough. I don't know what to tell you if you're trying to do this stuff for real, for life. You know, this kind of stuff disappearing is just kind of a symptom of large corporations kind of continuing to dominate with just their ability to borrow being the only reason they're winning, not actual customer satisfaction or product quality.
Right.
You know, and as times get harder, like economically and stuff like that, that stratifies even worse. So, yeah, not very good.
Right. Yeah. I'm actually kind of afraid that like Barnes and Nobles or something will stop selling CDs. Because, like, the one near, like, Barnes & Noble's near us, the CD section is very, like, dilapidated. So it's like, but they have tons of CDs. They have, like a million CDs. It's like, so, I don't know. They sell them for such low prices. I'm like, I feel like they're trying to get rid of them at this point. But they keep adding new CDs. Like for example, like, they'll add new music, you know? Like, I'll see on the website, at least, I'll, like, be looking for CDs. And, like, this album just came out, and it's already there. I'm like, oh, so, like, they still do actually, like, you know, buy CDs and whatever, but I don't know. It's very sus. So,
right.
Apparently, also Best Buy does sell CDs, but like none of these things are reviewed, except like one vinyl thing. But yeah, apparently they sell some CDs.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay, well that's my plug for physical media. Go buy physical media of anything that you like, so you actually have it and own it, and support the artist the best.
Oh wait, look at this. Hold on. Oh, okay. It's almost full. The rack.
Ooh.
Hold on. Actually, it's one slot left. Try not to like make it all fall out. If you're watching it on audio only, sorry, but wait. Yeah, you can see it now.
Nice.
The quality isn't great. You probably can't see the titles, but it is. I forget how many this thing holds, but I think I checked on iTunes. It tells you like how many hours of music you have. I almost have 24 hours. I have 23 and a half hours of music. So there you go. But that includes actually no. That's just these CDs. Yeah. So plus one album that I could not find a CD release of like literally anywhere. Like it was like impossible to buy because like it's such a rare like CD. So yeah. I just bought like the MP3 version or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put this back.
Yeah, that's all the news I got.
Yeah, I gotta do like a CD review at some point, but just for the just for the packaging, not for the actual content.
Yeah. Haven't you done one already on the worst one that you have?
Well, things have probably changed at this point. I forget what it was. What was the worst one?
It was like an oddly shaped one.
I'm looking at the thing. Oh, it might have been. It probably was the Porter Robinson CD.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this one's bad. It doesn't fit well in the like all the non-standard sizes. They still have the same like or roughly the same width, so they all fit like pretty well. This one's like literally too big, so you have to squeeze it in, and like it's one of the ones where you like there's no CD like here. You have to slide it out of one of the holes, and it just feels wrong to have to like manhandle the CD like that, to like get it out there. So oh, it's actually falling out. Okay, well, let's put that back. Okay, so yeah. But a lot of these CDs, you can get like I got some of these CDs for like literally like $4. I found the secret. Basically, you have to go to Japan, or you have to go there, physically speaking. You have to order from
very cheap.
No. I mean, I suppose if you happen to be in Japan, like you might as well. But if you're not in Japan, if you go to like essentially, a lot of things. In Japan, right? Like they're just for domestic ordering. Same thing in the United States. Like you're not going to ship certain things internationally, right? Especially smaller stores. Like Amazon, of course, they sell. No, even then, like Amazon, they have Amazon.com, but also Amazon.jp, which is for Japan. You can't order things from that to come to the United States or whatever. And I assume vice versa, right? And so you can use what's called a proxy, which is like a middleman where like you just tell them what you want to buy, and they're located in Japan, and they just buy it for you, and they ship it for you yourselves. They're proxies for like tons of countries, or whatever. So they take a fee. They take 500 yen, which is like approximately it's like $4 and some cents, I think. So they don't really take per item though, which is kind of annoying. It's like dang. It was like it used to be. I think it used to be. No.
Per shipment would be crazy.
Yeah, it is per item, but like they have, so the one I use is called Zen Market, and they have their own store too. So if you order from their store, they don't charge you the
they probably
fee or
warehouse
whatever.
stuff. That's what I assume.
What is it taken?
They probably warehouse stuff.
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah, that's probably how it works. But I think what I'm finding is like a lot of like places will just, I think they're like probably like kind of like maybe like libraries or something. People are just dumping CDs out. They don't need them. They're just like selling them for like the most like absurd prices. And I'm like, what the heck? Like at first I was like skeptical. I was like, there's no way. So I just added it to one of my like packages or whatever. I was like, okay, I'll try out this one time. And it was like pristine. I was like, what? I was like, wait a minute. So I started doing it again. And I was like, wait, they're just fine. But the issue is occasionally, since these do seem like they have like numbers, like IDs on them as if they're like stickers on them as if they're like a library or something like that. So just take them off or whatever. But like sometimes I'm like, man, these CDs are like, I've literally replaced 2 cases because they were like just like nasty. They're just like gross. I was like, these like have been manhandled by like a billion individuals, and like there's like unknown substance on it. I'm just gonna like replace the entire case, which is luckily enough with jewel cases very simple to do. So and very cheap. Jewel cases are like a dime a dozen, almost literally. So yeah. Let me put this back because I've been holding it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any like system for my Blu-rays just yet. When I move, which I don't know if that's news or not. I feel like I said that. Maybe I haven't actually. So I'm under contract on that building that I been meaning to buy for like a whole year now, and I've just been running into issues after issues. Yeah, so I'm under contract, which means I accepted the deal. Sellers accepted the deal, and now there's a whole bunch of more bureaucracy that has to happen to get to the finish line. But the closing date is set for March. So by March, hopefully, I will be an owner of property for the first time, which is fantastic. And it'll be a pizza place.
Hey.
For those of you who don't know, it's a pizza place with 2 apartments on top and a giant basement in the bottom. So we got some cool plans for that, and it's hopefully a major strategy towards financial independence, as well as some other things. So I'm kind of hyped for that. But when I mention that, oh yeah, when I move there, I'm gonna have a little office, probably like a mini office, and that mini office needs to look good. And so I'm gonna figure out how to organize my Blu-rays in such a way that they look nice and cool. The nice thing about the blue cases, I think they can be backlit, so they kind of like glow a little bit. So might do something like that.
Nice.
Yeah. That's all I got for news. We are kind of being more relaxed in this new segment because we're hoping Ben shows up, but I think maybe he's not going to show up tonight for whatever reason. Hopefully he's okay. Guy says, getting a CDR so I can burn all my Steam games to disk. That's a thing you can do. I guess that is a thing. Can you? Did they give you the install thing?
Steam games are aren't they DRM by default because they're on Steam? Because you need Steam to run it, I think. Because when you open a Steam, like if you try to run the exe for a game or whatever, I'll try to open Steam first, right? I say it wouldn't be very useful because of Steam and DRM, yeah. So,
yeah. Kai says it wouldn't be very useful because of Steam DRM. There you go.
If you buy from GOG, though, they have a no DRM policy. So anything you get from there, you would be able to put on a CD.
Oh, I don't know what GOG is, but cool.
GOG stands for Good Old Games. I don't think anyone knows that, but it's GOG.com was created by it's actually the first like original branch. Oh, sorry, that's not true. Okay, so the history is it's owned by CD Projekt. It's one of CD Projekt's branches. So CD Projekt Red is their game development branch. CD Projekt Blue, also known as GOG, is their game distributions site, and so they don't do their policies. They don't do DRM there. I believe CD Projekt Blue came out before Red. I think they started distributing games before they were doing that. And the irony is, I believe CD Projekt, before they were like a real thing, was I don't know if they're still called CD Projekt. I don't think they were, but they sold like games. They sold pirated games. That's what they did originally, and then I guess they had a change of heart, and they were like, never mind. So they started making games and selling them legally. So yeah.
Okay. That's crazy. Kai also says, when will
It's
great...
Belgian. Wait. Isn't
What?
GOG Polish because CD Projekt is Polish? I can verify this, but
I have no idea. But he also said, when will the Great Mixed Media Collection on DVD be available? I mean, I honestly, like, I would love for there to be a mixed media collection. Like, if we could have, like, you know, it would be super cool if we had like a mixed media box.
oh,
You know?
like a wait, you mean like a monthly type box, or like just a one box like?
I don't know. A monthly would be kind of hard to pull off, but like if we
It would
had
be
like
hard to pull
maybe a like it, not a subscription, but like every year we come out with a box, you know, that you can just
What
buy.
would be? Wait, sorry, I may have missed. I was looking at GOG stuff. What would be in the box?
Well, I was thinking, like, you know, we could have like basically a game, a piece of music, and a movie, all physical media. Maybe with some like cool stuff along with it, like some related stuff. It could be themed.
Right.
That'd be pretty cool. That's something to think about.
Physical games though are a lot more rare than physical movies and music.
Yes, but it doesn't have to be contemporary.
That is true. It
Doesn't have to be contemporary. So we could have like a horror box one year that's like what's it called? Dead Space, you know, the first Dead, or maybe it's all three Dead Spaces, you know.
Oh yeah, could be. Yeah.
Could be. And then maybe A Quiet Place 1 and 2 on the movie side. I don't know what Ben would pick for horror music, but like I don't know if doing a record in a box is kind of hard, so it'd have to be a CD probably. So even though records have a little bit more like social cred these days for whatever reason. Kai also says, I don't know, I thought it was Belgian. Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm reading the Wikipedia page for GOG. So it is owned by CD Projekt, and the history is interesting. It says it is Polish. It says during the communist government rule of Poland, the Poland's People's Republic, copyright laws went largely unenforced, and copyright infringement was rampant among electronic media. Following the change of government, consumer perception of copyright in Poland remained largely the same, making it difficult for legitimate sellers of electronic media. Pirated and bootlegged versions were often sold in open markets right next to the box copies of legitimate items, but for a fraction of the costs. So I guess that's some of the context of like why they were like a pirating like thing before. It was just what you did, I guess, back in the day in Poland.
Yeah, okay, that makes much more sense. Much more sense.
It says so. CD Projekt, I guess, was before GOG because the CD Projekt was founded by these Polish names in 1994 for the purposes of trying to bring legitimate sales of foreign game titles into Poland. So knowing they would have no easy way to compete against pirated copies. So there you go.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. He says that he learned this because of his credit union is paranoid. Oh, they probably flagged the purchase or something weird like that. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah. It's from Belgium. Yeah. Pretty based, by the way. Credit unions. That's pretty cool. I love credit unions.
I don't know what that is, to be honest, but
yes, community banks. Let's see here. So, shall we go on to our first topic of the night?
I guess. I mean, I don't know how much I have here. The issue is, I was trying to take notes while we were talking, but then we were talking, so it was like really hard to. Also, I just say, because of the party that I had, graduation party, I am extremely tired. It's like things are slower than normal. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give it a shot, I guess, and see. You know, I don't have to use notes. You know, I can just, we can figure things out as I go.
Yes, I always feel like our show gets really sluggish after the holidays. It's like hard to like, it's hard to get back into things. And the thing that happens for me in particular, I'm sure it happens for you guys too. But like there's a lot of for you not this year because you graduated, but in prior years, like there's just a lot of catch up, like right. Like you're getting back into things and it just gets a little rough. But yeah, we're getting back to the swing of things, and it doesn't help that January is like death movie season, and it's just not interesting at all in terms of things that are happening. But yeah, all right. Well, are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Here we go.
Mixed Media Gaming.
Welcome to Mixed Media Gaming, the segment of the Mixed Media Podcast where we talk about all things video games. If this is the first time you're tuning in, Mixed Media Podcast is a podcast about sort of art in general, and as we talked about before, not too long ago, actually, it could be about even wacky things like the CIA and its involvement in art or whatever and stuff like that. So we at this point, this podcast is it 2 years old or 1 year? 2 years old? One? It's like.
I think it's 2 years old, or it's pushing on. I don't remember what month did we start.
I don't know. My point was that you can find a topic on, unironically, like anything.
Yeah.
You just look up
roller coasters.
Yeah, I don't know how. That's crazy. Roller coasters.
3D modeling.
Actually, have I ever done a 3D modeling episode ever? I
thought you had, but.
I don't think I always introduce myself at the start as a 3D modeler and video game developer or whatever. But I don't know. I just never did.
You showed your impromptu 3D modeling on the show before.
I did, yes. And this time, unfortunately, it's gonna be hard to do. When you talk about Godzilla, it's gonna be a little bit tough because I have to figure out something else to draw. I don't know. I can't make for context. I'm a hard surface modeler, so I don't do animals or anything that's not a hard surface, basically, like a table or like a computer or whatever it is, So I'll have to figure something out. But a point being, you can find anything about this podcast. Today we'll be talking about Will Wright and his thought on game design. He has something he said that I want to kind of talk about. I've actually had this on the backlog for a really long time, since kind of the early parts of the podcast. So. Yeah, let's get into it. So before we start, let's introduce ourselves. So my name is Nathan Nestor. I'm a 3D modeler and video game developer.
And my name is Irving Nestor. I'm a filmmaker and media entrepreneur. I own a company called Ariella based out of Mount Carmel, Pennsylvania.
Yep, and usually we have Ben Costello, who is he's a flutist and a media composer. How does he introduce himself? I always forget.
Flute player and media composer, I think is what he says.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So he's a flutist and a media composer, but he's not here today, so it'll just be us two for now. Actually, he said that. Oh yeah. He's traveling via airplane. He said.
Okay.
Okay. So today we'll be talking about Will Wright and his thoughts on video games. So who is Will Wright? Will Wright co-founded a company called Maxis. You may have heard of them. Maxis has been since absorbed into EA, but this guy, I think he was created in the 1980s, late 1980s. I want to say in 1987. It was created. He co-founded it with an investor. He worked as a solo developer, and I presumably the investor was providing the funds for the project. The idea of Maxis was to create. He was very interested in simulations, so the first game created was SimCity, a game you've probably heard before. SimCity became very popular over time and spawned the whole Sims series. Aside from that, he decided to expand and create a bunch of other simulation games like Sim Earth, Sim Ant, and Sim Copter. None of these are very well known. They didn't quite take off like The Sims, but that being said, those were not his. The SimCity was not his only hit series. So technically, The Sims is like a separate series from SimCity because SimCity is more of like a city skylines type thing, a city builder, right? Whereas The Sims is more like a loosely saying colony management game. So it's more about like individual people. It's on a smaller scale. Aside from that, he also made Spore. So, or I think he co-designed Spore. So, yeah, he is quite big into simulations. That being said, the company was absorbed by EA in 1997, I think, and then later, I think in 2008, he left EA or left Maxis. So I suppose left EA to work on some other projects. He's part of some video game think tank currently. So, So the inspiration was there was a time back in the day where Masterclass had a $1 sale. It was absolutely insane. If you don't know, Masterclass is like $100 per year, I want to say, or something like that. Or is it? No, it's per month. That'd be crazy.
I think so.
$100 per year. And the idea of Masterclass is that it's a website where you can watch videos and also read articles from people who are masters in that craft. So, for example, there's Will Wright for game design. There's Hans Zimmer for media composition. There is
Scorsese.
I think Oh, is that one? Okay, Scorsese for presumably for directing, or I suppose not the general music movie stuff.
Directing, yeah.
Yeah, they find like dancers and all this great stuff. Masters in their field, cook, chefs, whatever. Kahara says SimCity is more like Cities Skylines type thing. It's funny that we've gotten to the point of saying this. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to describe it simply, in few words. So there you go. There's a sale at Masterclass for $1. I don't know why that happened. Like why did they make it like half off? They said no, we're making it 99% off. It's kind of crazy. It's $1. Yeah. So naturally, I got it. I got it, and I watched Will Wright's thing on game design. And unfortunately, I didn't take any notes, which kind of sucks because this is quite a long time ago. So a lot of my memory about this is kind of fuzzy. But one thing that to this day still sticks with me is that his approach to game development is that the goal, what he thinks is good for a game to do is to make a game that gives a player a story to tell. I've said this before, and this is essentially going to be the central point about what I'll be talking about today. Making a game that gives the player a story to tell. Now, I think maybe contrary to what you might think, he has an interesting take on games. He said, quote, games are not the right medium to tell stories, which I think is kind of interesting. I don't remember the rest of the quote, so I think there's some important context after that. I think he said something about, it's about, you're creating the story or whatever, like you don't want to have like a linear, so he might say something about The Last of Us, actually, Irving. He might be like, this is not the right medium for The Last of Us. The proper medium might be the movie or the show or whatever, and I'm curious what you think about that.
I mean, I don't see why, but big caveat, I'm not a game designer, so I feel free to defer to his. Kai says 3 minutes in, and I'm already triggered. Yeah, I mean, just on the face of it, I don't understand the why. Simply because it's. So let me backtrack. Storytelling is not the same thing as like the medium that you storytell in. Like you can storytell in so many ways. So a lot of times as a filmmaker, I think about the storytelling tradition as being part of the storytelling tradition going like all the way back. But I'm a specific medium of storytelling, so it's a storytelling art. That's a whole sector of art is storytelling, right? So there are novels. There are campfire stories, there are story songs, right? Story albums, that are all oriented about telling a story. So I think of story as completely independent of the medium, and some mediums are going to have to take on story in a different way than others. And I think the only problem that happens sometimes is that people want to, instead of learning from the tradition and then reapplying it to their particular medium, they kind of just want to emulate some other medium in their medium. And I think that's where the problems happen. Like when you basically say, like, I'm just going to copy paste a movie and kind of make it playable. It could be okay, but it's not likely to be good is probably the case. Because you're not really cognizant of what you're doing. Versus like just telling a story through the medium of gaming. If you're coming at it from that perspective and you're good at what you do, I feel like you can do that. I don't see why not. I think The Last of Us does it for sure. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Interesting take. Just for more context, this quote actually comes from a CNN interview in like 2011.
Also an old one.
Yeah. What he said was, now CNN doesn't give it's not like a long quote, but like even that. So anyways, in a part it says, he's talking about GTA, and it says that Will Wright considers him a fan, but he, quote, bypasses the mission-driven storylines that have won the franchise such favor, which seems kind of extreme. He said, quote, what I enjoy about Grand Theft Auto is kind of going out and creating my own story, unquote. So there's that. Rockstar Games did not return a request for comment.
Isn't that something that people complain about in terms of GTA, though? In terms of not feeling directed enough at times, and even in like the mission sets that you have, being kind of repetitive, because it kind of has to fit the open world universe that you're in.
Well, I think the criticism. I don't think there's a criticism in that it's not directed enough. Like, it definitely is like if you follow the main storyline, it definitely is very like story driven in that sense. It is definitely very story driven, right? I think there is a criticism about it feeling very repetitive, but don't think that's even because it's a story driven game or anything like that. It's just like they just for some reason only have like so many types of missions, such as follow vehicle. Right. Mission is like, okay, it's like, I don't know, it's kind of I've done this before a couple times, shoot people but like in the setting mission, it's like, okay, it's not really, it's not a very hard game at all, it's very not challenging, so that doesn't help. Clearly somebody who has a very interesting perspective on things, but he has said that what he thinks makes a good game is that, as an approach at least, is to make a game that gives the player a story to tell. And I remember this on the fly. I actually forgot about this, so this is like, I'm going to pull this up live. Oh, I'm not logged into Reddit. What the heck? Why did it log me out? There's a post I made, like the one post. Well, actually, if you want to see 3D modeling stuff, I do post them on Reddit. I did post them on Reddit back in the day. I don't anymore. But the one thing that was like not 3D model related was like a game dev post. That got a decent amount of attention, and it said, if I can find it, posts. Yeah, it's called "What is the purpose of making a video game?" It got 157 upvotes, which I thought was kind of crazy, considering like it was so random, and I think I even mentioned the fact that I even quoted him actually. Yeah, getting the player sort of tell their friends is what the game designer says is the purpose of making a video game. And I gave an example. So I said that, like, for example, explaining to your friends how you clutch the game of Tetris 99 is an example of giving the player a story to tell their friends. Will Wright would say that creating moments like that is good for a game to do. And I'll post the link in the Discord chat. And there are all sorts of like answers you'll find, and some of them are better than others for sure. But that's kind of like what has stuck with me, though. Like, for all this time, I was like, I think, like, I don't think this is always the case, but I think it is generally good if you give the player a story to tell their friend. I don't really know why exactly, but you think about, there's the associated cool moment, right? It's like if you have given the player a story to tell, then like something of interest has happened, right? Now, I will say that this is not always the greatest thing, as it's not all publicity is good publicity thing, right? If someone's telling a story about how awful your game is or something like that, right? It's like, man, I was playing this and it's so frustrating. That's not great, typically speaking. But on the other hand, something that I think is a lot more interesting is take the example of Minecraft, a game that is very well known, but is also very buggy despite being very large, right? And there are random bugs you can find and things like that. Or the one game I reviewed on Backlogged, which is like a 2-line review called Generation Zero. It was also a very buggy game. And the review I wrote was something along the lines of like, it's really buggy and that's what makes it fun. And people find that the same with Minecraft, and that there's some bugs that enhance Minecraft. Same with Arma and other games that are just kind of not well made in terms of programmatic robustness. So I think that there's something to say about, okay, but those bugs are actually kind of like good in some sense. It's like they actually add to the game, maybe unintentionally, but they do give you a story to tell your friends, and it means it's at least it's entertaining in some sense.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean that makes complete sense to me. Like I think if I think about like some of my best gaming memories, it's like I want to tell someone like how cool it was that this circumstance happened, or about a moment, even a moment in like The Last of Us or something like a story-driven game. I feel like it could be both, and I feel like you could say the same thing of movies as well. If you watch a good movie, typically you want to talk about it. Like it impacts you. It doesn't have to impact you personally. Like it's just impactful in some way. Like, oh, that was super cool, or like, wow, that made me think about something I never thought about before, or something. So yeah, that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Kikaro says, yeah, they can't patch every Minecraft bug because a lot of them are in active use by professional Minecrafters to promote the brand, and some of them even make finding weird glitches their shtick. Yeah, for sure. So,
Yeah. I had one last thing to say too. Is like, good art that's meant for general consumption. Usually, when I talk about art, I'm always talking about general consumption art. I'm not talking about like something you made for yourself or like for like two people. You know what I mean? Something you're putting out there for like the world in a sense, but usually like some community to ingest. Good art is like communal, like necessarily communal. Like it inspires community. You know, like it makes people want to talk about it because it is a shared point of reference with which we can share, you know, friendship around, you know. And it has to be interesting in order to be a good, interesting, good, etc., you know, in order for it to be communal. So good art is communal, for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's an interesting point I didn't think of before. I think that was actually brings it on to my next topic, or my next point, is that, like, there are actually some outliers to this of games that I enjoy, or seemingly outliers, right? So, for example, I think that the Forever game that I've called them before, you know, like League of Legends, not that I enjoy it, so maybe that's a bad example, or say the finals, or CS:GO, or sorry, CS2. I will be saying CS:GO forever, man. It's so ingrained in my mind. CS2, rather. Things like this, or Valorant games that you kind of play, or Rocket League games you play over and over again, and stuff like that. Actually, the fact that you play them over and over again kind of detracts in a way from their storytelling capabilities, because you kind of forget a lot of these things. It's like, I played so many Rocket League matches, you know, it's like, it's hard to remember, like, one in particular, you know. It's like, in that moment, I probably did. I was like, oh, man, dude, like literally one game ago, I was going crazy or something like that, you know, this crazy goal happened, or I had this crazy block or something. We almost won, we almost lost, whatever it is, right? And you can probably tell your friend the story right then and there, but get a few more games, and it's become a little bit more of a blur, you know? It's like if you, I don't know, you watch one movie, you watch, like, 10 more back-to-back, it's like, now you're probably getting some details confused between movies. So it's not necessarily a fault of. It's not like that the game doesn't have stories to tell. It's just that, just by its nature, the fact that you kind of play many rounds over and over again, and the rounds don't differ very much in terms of, like, you know, the mechanics don't change and things like this. It is hard to keep those stories in your mind. That being said, I do mostly enjoy the communal thing you were saying. So with these Forever games, I almost solely play Forever games with other people. I don't find them nearly as enjoyable anymore playing by myself. I'm not entirely sure why that is, to be honest. Like, not that I don't enjoy it, for example, playing Rocket League alone, but, like, I feel like the experience is, like, 10 times enhanced with another person. Even if, like, you know, we're not, like, talking about, like, you know, it could be even, like, a random person, probably, you know, like, oh, this is more enjoyable, you know. Not entirely sure why, but I feel like I wouldn't feel necessarily the same way about games that aren't Forever games. I mean, I think that generally speaking, it might boost, you know, the game's quality, maybe to have, you know, a friend, you know, with you or whatever. But I feel like not by as much, you know, not by quite the same factor. But that's something that's certainly interesting, is the social aspect of games, and maybe that's what Will Wright is really trying to hit on here. You know, it's like it's a social thing, you know, and so the social part doesn't have to be while you're playing it; it could be after you're playing it. Yeah. There's also, aside from the idea of just making a good game using that principle, it also really lends itself really nicely into marketing, because, for example, as Kairos hit on before, is like, how does Minecraft advertise itself? Well, mainly through creators, right? And, like, you know, how many of us discovered, like, Minecraft Let's Plays from YouTube, right? And what were they doing? I mean, they were telling stories. Oh, yeah. Yogscast, yeah, well, I don't know if... Actually, they do... Well, I remember I was, like, curious, like, one day, like, maybe like last year or 2 years ago, I was like, do the Yogscast still exist? And I remember, like, Yogscast Hannah does... Like, her channel name's something different. It's not Yogscast anymore. And, like, she, like, streams now, typically, like, on Twitch. She doesn't, like, make YouTube videos anymore. Right. So, yeah. Those are the times, I guess. But, yeah, what were they doing on YouTube? They were telling stories, right? Primarily.
And I remember when seeds were crazy in Minecraft. Like, when seeds came out, and like there were people were discovering these crazy seeds. And I remember one was like orb worlds or something. Like there's like orb like little planet like things being generated, and I think that was like actually what like made me go, okay, I really want to play Minecraft now. This was in middle school, so
seeds. Wow. Speaking of seeds, that reminds me. People, I think people have found the seed for like the default image for like when you make a server, right? And it's like a little like tiny image with like the little like overhang, like terrain or whatever. I think people found that seed like somewhat recently. They literally did math, I'm pretty sure, to figure it out. Like some like mathematical formulas of like, like this seed cannot include like these features or something like that. And so we just like
okay.
I don't know, it's something crazy, but I don't even know how that stuff works, but it's interesting. But yeah, it's free marketing. Being able to give players a story to tell. And as you think, that reminds me of what do you call these things? Like video game like festivals and expos and stuff like that, where people will go and they will set up a little video game booth, and a lot of indie devs will try to get into these festivals. And I think it's a pretty cool concept, I think, although it seems to not proven by numbers to be very useful in terms of like growth. But it's a very cool, it's a very neat idea to just be able to go to a festival, set up shop, and have people just play your game right in front of you or whatever, right? Obviously, typically just better thing for shorter games and things like this. You're not going to be playing the entire Last of Us at a video game festival. Yeah. It's that's a different way of getting people to have a story, right? It's like the story may come from the game, but also comes with the fact that you went to a festival and played and you talked to the developer and stuff like that, right? And that is free marketing in some sense, but also just a good time, right? So there's that as well. Now, do the numbers show that the marketing works? Not really. I think this, and that's actually maybe something I kind of want to look into more, is like, why don't video game festivals work very well in terms of like people wanting to play the game? Specifically, I'm talking about physical festivals. I don't really know much about the digital festivals, like the Steam, like Summerfest and whatever, and stuff like that, where it's like all online. I think those work better because people have such an easy way of wish listing because it's just like right there.
Do you think it has to do with like the sort of like, because like when you sort of game with friends, you tend to do it online, right? Like or I guess there's the era of like console games where, but like you're kind of you're forced to share an apparatus, like you're forced to share a screen, to split screen or whatever. But like with like PC games, a lot of times you're just kind of on two separate computers next to each other. Do you think that might be like a weird human like lack of? It doesn't feel good, to sit down at your own desk amongst many things and amongst strangers. It's kind of like a weird way to commune, if you get what I mean.
You're saying it like a video game festival thing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh no, those types like tend to be like they're not like typically like PCs lined up in a row and you're all like playing like that.
Oh, okay.
It's more like it actually gives more of the console vibe of like, here's a controller, here's a big screen. We'll give you like 4 controllers active,
that's not
various
popular.
people.
That sounds fun.
No, it's popular. Some people like go there and they play them, but the issue is they don't buy the game.
I see what you mean. Okay, I got you.
Is the hard part.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in looking into like why that is. No, the festivals are popping though.
Okay, gotcha. I was gonna say because film festivals. No one's buying anything either, right? So, I think that just has to do with the human cheapness.
Kara says, did you see the video where a person set up a game booth for their in-dev project at the local farmers market? No, I did not see that.
That's pretty awesome.
I wonder how well that worked in terms of sales and stuff like that.
Kudos to that person. That person's working hard.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm curious how that conversation went. Like, hey, farmer, can I set up this arcade booth right here?
Yeah.
We said I'll link it later. Sick. Okay. Yeah, I'll go to watch. I'm interested. Let's say something else. And they got some email with signups. Okay.
Yeah, at the very least you can get
that's good too.
That's good.
Yeah. I'm not saying they're all something like literally worthless. Like they do work. They're just not. It's like for the effort involved and the money you might buy on like, because when you set those booths, you buy things for like decoration of your booth and stuff like that, and whatnot. and you have to, maybe fly out to wherever the actual festival is if it's not in your town or within driving distance or wherever it is, right? Buy a hotel, very expensive. And that's only for if you're bringing yourself. Typically, you probably want to bring more than yourself for setting up and stuff like that. So
it'd be so awesome if we did a mixed media festival one day, and it was like all three things. That'd be sick.
We could. I'm curious if there are like general arts festivals where we could just go and set up a mixed media booth. Be like, okay, this is the.
There are. I mean, the biggest sort of like. I mean, there are a lot of that are technically mixed media, but like. Yeah, we're using that term wrong, but you know what I mean. The pun that our show name is. There are technically some that are like that, but they're not. They really just are film festivals, if you get what I mean, with a side of other things. But South by Southwest is properly a sort of mixed media.
That video games there.
I don't know if they have video games. They definitely have music though. Have music and film.
South by Southwest video games. Game industry track. Oh, maybe. Interesting.
There you go. Yeah.
Well,
that's a huge,
getting into that, like,
huge festival.
like Impossible.
Probably. Yeah.
Well, that's something to, I suppose, look into at some point. But
we should do our own, is what I'm saying.
I mean, we should just make a game. Is like the that's kind of like I feel like but everything converges to that. It's like we should just do that.
Yeah.
Should. How about why don't we just make something like uber small? Like the game I'm thinking of that was made at a festival or whatever. There's a channel called Mental Checkpoint. I don't watch them anymore, which is sad because it's really high quality videos in terms of like style. It's so good. I don't know if he still makes videos though, but he had a video on going to a festival, and he was the first one who sort of like put me on the idea that like, oh, these don't really work. And then I watched more videos and I'm like, oh wow, they really just don't work for some reason. But it doesn't make videos anymore. That's kind of sad. Last video was 9 months ago. But what was I gonna say? His video was super tiny, in terms of like the what it took to make it and stuff like that. So I would be interested. But topic. Will Wright. I have no notes. So I really was just free flowing that, and I don't really know what else to say at this point.
Hold on. So Kai says short 3D stealth game with noir or spy overtones hits a potential for Irving writing, Nathan programming, and or model and Ben writing music. I mean, honestly, that sounds like super fun.
Hear me out here. I was at some point working on a stealth or a parkour game inspired by Mirror's Edge. That was noir style, but not noir in like the like taking noir elements. Like I'm like taking like the noir like whole like because noir essentially is like defined as like a series of general traits, right?
Yeah.
I'm just taking a thin slice of the general traits. So a lot of like the visual styles, right? So like hard shadows and like maybe even black and white and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's not noir in a capacity because I'm a hard surface modeler. The main character is a robot.
Wait, it could be noir with a robot. That could be cool. Maybe. I'm saying
though, it's just it's a subset because typically if we're talking about like noir traits, like it's like modern or past or near future. It's not like sci-fi or something. So
I'm down anyway.
I forget what the general idea was. Oh man, I forget what it was. I remember. Oh, it was like in like I feel like the first map was like a World War I factory. I still probably had 3D models from it. I was like literally generating just a bunch of 3D models, like tables and like various like World War I warehouse things you'd find in a World War I warehouse and stuff like that. I forget why, like what the story was. I think I even started writing a game design document. So maybe I'll pull that up and see what the heck I was like, what I was doing. Like, I don't remember, but that was interesting. I only stopped because why did I stop? I was working on it with someone else, and the person kind of like wasn't that useful. So I was like, "Wow, that's a lot of work." I was like, "All right, I'm done." It was more than I what I can do, unfortunately. But
Well, you tell me what the specifics are, and I'll see if a story immediately pops into head or something that resembles a story immediately pops into head.
yeah, I'll have to find like the if I can dig it out. Probably on OneDrive. I think I might be able to find it. I don't know. We'll see. I'll have to go digging. But that was a concept. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, was that actually all you had to say about Will Wright? Did he say anything else?
I mean, so okay. Preferably, I would have like done research on the issue. I don't remember what he said in his masterclass very well, but I can't just buy it again because it's $100. So like, it's like I was like looking up. Like, okay, what are the things that Will Wright said that may like like reignite things in my brain? And it's like there's not much, man. He's kind of an older dude. All the sources are kind of older. Like it's hard to find stuff that he's said and stuff like that. So I wanted to mostly talk about though like. The things I found interesting were the idea that there are outliers in this, so like things like Rocket League and stuff like that. I want to just propose the idea and consider any challenges to that idea of like, okay, I don't have a reasoning for why this is a good thing to do in terms of like why would this be the purpose of a video game? Because I actually don't think it probably is not. I'm just saying that Will Wright was saying that, right? Or that is the goal for a game designer, right? And
yeah.
I was like, okay, what are potential challenges against that? Can you think of any?
Challenges to what? Sorry, I was
the idea that the idea that the your purpose as a game designer should be to give the player a story to tell.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I feel like that kind of speaks to a communal aspect. If that's just a proxy for saying it being good, like, I guess that kind of makes sense. But like, I don't know. I like the definitions of like the purpose of any sort of artistic endeavor has to do with the definition of the thing that you're doing. Like for film, there are like gray areas, I guess, on definitions or whatever that people like to make too much hay out of, because they ultimately don't matter almost ever. But a film requires picture. Like picture is like, if you don't have picture, you don't have a film. And so there's something about picture that you're doing something about, and the picture has to change, at least once, right? Like, or else it's a picture with music in the background or something, or audio. But it's a motion picture, right? It's a movie. Move, right? Mm-hmm. So there's something about those things in which you're trying to leverage them for the benefit of your audience, and the benefit of your audience is going to be, like I've talked about in the past on the show, the sort of transcendentals, right? The good, the true, the beautiful. So it's like, are you making people better, or you're conveying the good? Are you helping someone to figure out what is true, or at least which questions are worth asking? Sort of helping people on their sort of human journey that way. And are you being beautiful? So it's like, I feel like any art is going to have the same sort of properties, just confined to their medium. So I don't know. I guess that's a roundabout way of saying, like, I guess that's a fine thing to say. Yeah, I guess it's fine, but I feel like it's always a proxy for those things, one way or the other.
Gotcha. All right, yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, you want to transition us over to?
Sure. Thank you for watching the Mixed Media Podcast gaming segments. Next up, we'll have Irving's movie segment. He'll be reviewing Godzilla Minus One. So, or I don't know, reviewing it? So just talking about it? I assume full review?
Yeah, full review. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, reviewing Godzilla Minus One. If you're listening to the live, just stick around. If you're not live, just check out. Wait for the next. Well, it's okay. We don't split them anymore, but just stick around, I guess, regardless. So yeah, thanks for watching the segment.
Yes.
Wait, we didn't shout out our supporters ever, actually, have we?
Ooh, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you to Kairos 99 Crime. I almost said Rob Sharma, Alex Egbert, and Post. Wait, yeah, Post, right? Yeah. Four.
Wait, what?
Right. It's I said that right? It's 4, right? It's 4 spoilers?
There's four. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay, cool.
Sweet. Hold on here. Gotta get my editor set up, and we're gonna transition over. Here we go.
Mixed Media Movies.
Not quite smooth enough. Welcome back to Mixed Media. If you've been listening all along live, salute to you. Thank you so much for stopping by and spending some time with us as we talk about our favorite things. And this show is a live stream podcast where we sort of have different segments. So in my segment, I will be doing a full review of Godzilla Minus One, the film that recently just ended its cinematic run in theaters. I guess I'm a little bit late, but we'll get to it. We'll talk about it. But without further ado, we should reintroduce ourselves. So my name is Irving Nestor. I'm a filmmaker and media entrepreneur. I own a film company called Ariella, based out of Mount Carmel, Pennsylvania.
My name is Nathan Nestor. I'm a 3D modeler and video game developer.
Sweet. So, I saw Godzilla Minus One in theaters, which is a privilege always to be able to go to the theater. As you guys know, I don't have a theater that's terribly close to me. It takes me about 20-25 minutes to get to a theater, which, I'm not complaining. That's, that's not horrible. But, most people in sort of like more metropolitan, less rural areas, they go like 15 minutes, 10 minutes to get to their movie theater. So it's a little bit more annoying, and that theater isn't the best quality, as I figured out that not all AMCs are made the same over time, but it's still much better than being at home with my projector. So this is a big disclaimer, which is, if I go to a theater to see a movie, the odds that I rate it higher simply because I'm in the correct space for seeing that movie are pretty high, and it's actually kind of hard for me to separate it away, because it's so impactful to the movie watching experience. So that's the sort of upfront disclaimer, although it doesn't save movies like Barbie from being absolute dumpster fire. But, there we go. Okay. So let's break this down, Godzilla Minus One, the way that, I typically break this down, which is kind of in my director's brain. I think about films in departments, right? So typically there's a directing department, which is a department of 1.5 persons, kind of 2 people, kind of 1.5, which is the script supervisor is often lumped into that category. But department of 1, really. And, you have your cinematography, which is your camera department. You have your sound department. You have your art department, which is made up of 2 big branches, which is props and sets. So on and so forth. And that's kind of how I think about film. Now, I won't go through every single department. Typically what I do is I pick out the departments that are usually core and or particularly interesting for this film. So with this particular film, because it's a blockbuster film that is mostly interesting because of its writing, I'm mostly going to talk about the writing. And that's how we'll go about it. Okay. This film did pretty darn well. Let me actually look up the Rotten Tomatoes score for it, because I remember looking at it and being like, the critics and the audience agree for the first time in a long time on it being good. Let's see here. Godzilla Minus One 2023. Oh. Rotten Tomatoes glitched. There we go. And we've got a 98% on critic score and a 98% on audience score. That's crazy.
Be some record breaking, maybe.
And honestly, I understand why. And I'll be explaining to you why. It's not like this movie is going to be a revolutionary film. If you go watch it and you think it's going to be like some sort of life-changing movie, I mean, it might be life-changing in some ways, but it's probably not going to be like, a movie that you'll be referencing, at any given moment to explain your persona, right? It's probably not going to be that. But it probably will be more interesting than you think when you think of a Godzilla movie. Why is that? One of the primary reasons it's so interesting, because it was not made in the United States. It was made in Japan. This is a Japanese film. It is 100% in Japanese. It's all subtitled. You're going to have to read. Does that irk me as a filmmaker? Absolutely. is it understandable for an international film? Obviously. So I'm not going to make someone in some other country, make the film in English as well. Although there are a lot of films, surprisingly, that are actually done that way. They'll film the scene twice, one in English and one in the native language.
Sounds exhausting.
Yeah, that was more common like a while ago. Not so much common lately. But I'm happy to see people make a film in not just their way of making it, but in their native tongue. It's not made for me, and that's fine. It's people acting nationally as they should. Any case, so it's a Japanese film, and that's going to contribute to almost 100% of why this film was so successful. It's going to be just like Parasite. It's going to be just like pretty much every other international film that's gotten a lot of recognition, that have like opened up the doors for international films at like the Oscars and things like this. It's because these films are allowed to be good. Hear me out. I'm going to explain. But these films are actually allowed to be good because they're not constrained by the Hollywood system, which basically forces you to make a bad film these days. Okay. So, the first thing about the writing, the first thing you have to know, is that this is a very masculine movie. And, like, I say that because it's actually really important to understanding the script and, like, how it's written out and how, the sort of thing kind of comes together. And it's very, like, it's very centered on the idea of the expectation, even, right? Like, we've exited the realm of like today's sort of film where I think there's a automatic tendency to just sort of like bring down the patriarchy, so to speak, right? The film, it's not just like it's a masculine tendency or like themes that tend to be associated with masculinity. It's directly tied to the fact that the main character is male. It's an expectation, actually, that the character behaves in a certain way. We have a certain set of moral expectations from the filmmaker on the character because he's a dude. That's it's ingrained into the actual story structure. Okay, how? And in this particular, in past reviews, I'll typically break down the story structure in terms of acts because that's usually helpful to understanding how the whole thing came together. Here, this act structure is so, like, common. It's probably 4-act structure, although most people probably call it 3-act structure, and it's a very typical sort of way of laying out a plot for this kind of film. But that's not going to hurt it because we're going to go into themes that I think a modern audience hasn't seen in so long that when you see it again, you're like, wait a second, I resonate automatically and naturally to all these things that are being explored in this film. Okay, so what is that? What is the overall structure? Not the act structure or anything like that, but what is the sort of thematic structure that gives this whole thing its teeth? It is the idea, very masculine idea again, of chaining the monster. This idea of chaining the monster has become like a complete meme on the internet, right?
It's been a big topic in calculus.
Oh, that was a nerdy math joke for y'all. If you remember how to do, is it integrals
with integrals with like, I forget when you do that, but yeah.
Oh man, that was good. But if you remember, if you've been around the internet at all, you see like this kind of movement towards sort of this idea of like chaining the inner self and controlling the inner self, mostly driven by the likes of Jordan Peterson and stuff like this. Clean your room, right? That kind of thing. But this movie basically envelops that and takes that back into its old blockbuster glory. Like, you used to not have to go to random internet personalities to get these sort of like basic themes. You used to be able to get it as like a steady diet. as part of your as part of your artistic experience in everyday life. And so that's what this film does, right? It's this idea that one needs to master themselves. How does that manifest in a Godzilla movie, a monster movie, right? I thought when I was going to go into this film that I was going to see a stupid, because when I know I'm going to watch something, I don't watch anything about it. I don't watch trailers. I don't read commentary. I just go watch it. So when I went to watch this film, I had no idea it wasn't going to be a stupid, monster punching big things, big explodey things happening. And I was all for just watching big explodey things happen, because as long as it's done well and doesn't treat me like I'm too stupid, it can be a fun time. So I was just out there for a fun time. I was surprised when it turned out that the movie was much less interested in just being a kaiju movie, where big monster just wreaks havoc, although there's plenty of that happening as well. It was more interested in what the monster means in the context of the film. The monster that we're chaining is a literal monster. Classic storytelling. This is every story like this ever made, right? It's the monster represents something within, not something without, right? It doesn't represent some existential threat outside of yourself. It represents the more important existential threat that exists within yourself, right? So Godzilla is that in this film. So what are the layers? And there are many layers. The layers are basically stratified of in the same order as the principle of subsidiarity, which suggests the order that our attentions should be fixated exist. And I think this is also particularly strongly done because of Japanese culture. So this is fantastic. So we get the layer of the individual, so the main character himself. We get the layer of the family, so not just him, but his family, his child, his wife, although that's a little bit more complicated. I'll get back to that later. Then to the neighborhood or the city. So we even stratify away from country. Country actually has a very low representation in this film. City is a much stronger association. So then city, and then country, and then geopolitic. All of those layers are present in in this film, which is crazy to see done in such a typical sort of blockbuster format. It's the type of filmmaking that intelligent filmmaking that used to be extremely common, where you could jam pack all these ideas into a format that was intelligible and digestible by the average person. You didn't have to be an auteur, a film nerd to get the steady diet of these good things. So we have all the themes being stratified on all those levels. But what are the themes more granularly? We have themes of cowardice. So, and again, this is very tied to the masculine. So this is very tied to, being a dude. Particularly in wartime, this is going to be very particularly important. So cowardice, selfishness, duty, family, and human value. The latter, human value, will become extremely particular to Japan because of the kamikaze. The idea of kamikaze is very highly explored in this film. What do I mean by that? The main character, and I'm not going to spoil anything, and this is stuff you learn in the first 5 minutes. The main character is a kamikaze pilot who decided that he was not going to kamikaze into some random American ship as the Americans are, advancing upon Japan, and decides that he's going to instead pretend that his plane was broken and land at a airstrip on an island, a repair island, land there and say, my plane was broken, that's going to stop me from kamikazing, right? So I landed the plane. So he didn't want to die. Not only did he not want to die, but his parents begged him not to do something like that. So there's an extra sort of layer of complexity on top of that. It's not as simple as just simple cowardice. There are sort of interesting dynamics of what do you owe your family versus...
You said, is it family based on not to kamikaze or not kamikaze?
not to kamikaze. So they didn't want him to
Yeah.
die. Yeah.
Right.
So that sort of enters in as an interesting layer in this stratification of country, family, individual, that sort of layered approach that the film is taking. Fantastic stuff. This film, for the first time, made me think about the morality, by the way, of kamikazes. I never thought about it at all. I don't know why. Like, I think it's, you live life, and you constantly realize what crazy sort of like filtering has been applied to you via your education, and some of that's kind of we can't live in a utopia, so some of that's going to be like just human nature. Some of that's going to be like pushed upon you like more consciously, and I feel like Japanese warfare, which was horrendous, by the way, I'm not trying to say it wasn't horrendous, there's the famous R word of Nanking, right, and stuff like this. So yeah, I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything, but I'm just saying, there's kind of a tendency to go like anything that they do is barbaric because they're associated with barbarism because you've been taught to associate them with barbarism, right? It's almost like a less than human kind of thing. But this film kind of forces you to have to kind of take a step out of your idea of these sorts of ideas and think about what is actually morally happening. Because the film, shocker, actually believes in morals, unlike almost any film you can find in Hollywood today. What are those morals? The kamikaze act, right, is a little bit complicated morally, which is that you are deliberately sacrificing your own life to achieve a military end. There's going to have to be a few things to justify this. One, there can't be... I'm saying this as if it's objective because I believe it is, but also this is the movie's perspective, so I'm not even arguing against... I don't have to argue with the movie. So, like, the movie's, working with my objective moral view, so this works out pretty well. But for a few things that are necessary for you to sacrifice yourself for the sake of something greater, right, is you're going to have to, the ends have to be justifiable. So, like, what you're trying to achieve has to be a good thing, right? So it actually has to be a greater thing, right? And two, there can't be any other way, or like something like that. Not literally any other way, as if 100% of the worlds that are not this, you can't achieve that end, but like a justifiable amount of other ways, are not available to you. This is a good way to do it, if that makes sense. A good way, at least. So, for the sake of kamikazing, this is a little bit interesting because of the complexity of the moral analysis. Because, one, you could say, well, Japan is fighting a war of aggression and stuff like this, and so, there's the war itself is not justifiable, yada, yada, yada. Okay, fine. But let's actually do something more interesting in this film, which is not Japan apologizing over and over again for its Japanness of World War II, which is very common in Japanese film. And I know this because I've watched a lot of Japanese anime and Japanese film in general, so, it's very common for Japan to basically apologize over and over again in its filmmaking. It's actually not very dissimilar from Germany. Germany does the same thing. It kind of constantly apologizes in the art that it makes. This is going to be different, though, because it seems to believe in a stratified, again, moral landscape. So the moral calculus that we're going to make is going to be a little bit more challenging and a little bit more interesting in this film. There is a contention, there's a tension in the writing of the film, which is whether or not sacrificing yourself in such a way is, in fact, moral. It's a tension throughout the entire film, right? And the way we're going to explore that is not through empire or nationalism at all. We're going to explore it through what the action means for the individual and the community. So it's going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be whether or not this achieves the ends of extending Japanese aggression, expansionism, right? It's going to be more so, does this achieve the ends of protecting my community? A lot more complicated, right? Because now you start thinking about other things, right? Like the fire bombings of Tokyo, right? Which is an American act. An act in which I absolutely disagree. I made a lot of people angry with the Oppenheimer Oppenheimer film review that I did, which is exposing Oppenheimer's propaganda. You can check that out in the in our back catalog of episodes. And there's a lot of propaganda because I particularly know a good amount about the Cold War. Because it's a very interesting time period in the United States. It's very important to the way I understand current events. So the Cold War is an important topic. I know a decent bit about it, and so I knew a lot about nuclear history in particular, and I really disliked a lot of the ways that Oppenheimer was sort of displaying multifaceted levels of propaganda in its filmmaking. That being said, I'm absolutely against firebombing civilians, even in the case of World War II. Fight me. If you want to go in the comments and tell me I'm wrong, at least do that so that I can engage with you instead of disliking the video, because the Oppenheimer video got disliked to death. So there you go. Okay, so what do I have to say about this in this particular case, in the moral analysis that this film is making? It's that it's a protection act against the fire bombings is how it's presented. Because the fire bombings in the timeline of the beginning of this film have already been happening, right? Okay. But then there's the second level of analysis that we talked about, which is this the only good way, or like one of the few good ways that you can actually go about this? Is it efficacious? Is it respecting of human life? Whatever. And the moral analysis that it's trying to sort of unpack about that sort of second thing is complicated simply because there's this idea of honor that's sort of overlaid on top, which we eventually, spoiler-ish, it's a thematic spoiler, I suppose, which we eventually decide, no, this treats human life cheaply. So it's actually a very, very complicated moral analysis, which is like, one ought to protect one's neighborhood from fire bombings, right? Or from destruction, one's family, whatever, which is an immoral means of warfare, right? And then the second sort of level of analysis, which is interesting, which is, but this wasn't the way to do it. Isn't that interesting? That's really nuanced and complex for a blockbuster film with a giant monster as its premise. Super interesting writing. Super good stuff.
Wait, that's interesting because we haven't even talked about Godzilla as like a person who's like in this.
Right. I can't really fully tie that whole thing into the actual monster bit simply because it would require spoilers, I think. So I'm going to sort of hold off on that. But we'll get to the monster now. So what is Godzilla then? If he's going to represent the monster within, what is he? He's two things. He's Godzilla and Godzilla traditionally has always represented something, right? And he usually either represents the atomic bomb, like, the destruction of the atomic bomb, and or, sometimes it's both, and or Godzilla represents the, environmental destruction. So, sort of like a Green Planet sort of Godzilla, where, this is the ocean's vengeance for you throwing plastic into it, is Godzilla. That's kind of the two sort of things, and oftentimes they're mixed together, right? In this film, it's a little bit different. It's Godzilla, and it's so interestingly different. I'm so happy it's different. So happy. Much more interesting. Godzilla as consequence for your actions and your decisions, right? He represents the consequence of not being in control and a virtuous person. He represents the consequence of vice, basically. The consequence of vice. In general, right? And much more on an individual level. But, of course, he also represents the bomb. Because as we've talked about in this show, the other than apologizing for World War II, what's even more common in animes and Japanese films, particularly animes though, is the bomb. It's like a collective trauma. is how I like to portray it, because it really comes off as a collective trauma. The bomb is a fixation for Japanese filmmakers, the atomic bomb. So Godzilla is the consequence, and he is kind of the bomb as well. But it's primarily consequence. He's not primarily an atomic bomb, representative. But in what ways is he even the atomic bomb? He's not the atomic bomb as a geopolitical symbol. There's geopolitical consequence. Like, the United States is basically not mentioned in the entire film. It was mentioned 3 times, for plot purposes, not even, particularly important, right? So we're not talking about the bomb in its geopolitical significance, which, if Americans are going to make a movie like Oppenheimer, that's what it's going to all be about. It's going to be all about geopolitical significance, right? For the Japanese, and in general with the atomic bomb, but especially in this film, very deeply, it has nothing to do with geopolitics, and has 100% to do with the bomb's impact literally itself. What does something like this do to people, to a people? You know what I mean? What happens when a whole city vanishes? That's the concern, right? So Godzilla is not a geopolitical consequence. Instead, Godzilla is sort of represents the summation of bad will, that is uncontrollable, right? You didn't summon this, in the aspect that he's the atomic bomb, but is brought upon you. Okay. So, okay, that's all the thematic stuff that I'll discuss. Actually, sorry, one more thing. Family. One more thing. The other interesting thing is that so basically the film kicks off, and the main character, he pretends that he has a problem with his plane, and then he goes on to be on that island when Godzilla appears for the first time to him. The locals, apparently, they have a legend of Godzilla, which is that he appears all the time to them, so they've already known about Godzilla forever, But, on this random island, these soldiers are like, what the heck is a Godzilla? We never heard of such a thing. So, basically the character is given a second opportunity again to sacrifice himself for the sake of his platoon. How is he going to do so? By hopping in his aircraft and using the machine gun to try to take out Godzilla. Now, would a machine gun take out Godzilla? We find out that absolutely not. A machine gun will not work against Godzilla. But he doesn't even try, because no one knows what actually works against Godzilla at this point, you know what I mean? So, he doesn't even attempt to save his compatriots. And all of them die except for one, of course, because this is that type of movie. Guys, this is a typical movie. How many movies do you see where you fail to do something because of a character flaw? You fail to do something, and then everyone dies except for one person who has to be the thorn. You know what I mean? The constant reminder that of your failure is embodied in one person. Very convenient storytelling, convenient way to sort of carry that idea forward in story form. But he fails to do that. Then he goes back home. He finds out all of his family's dead from the fire bombings. So now what are we seeing mirrored, right? Is that he failed to do the kamikaze thing and the fire bombings are happening. He failed to do the machine gun thing and his platoon died, right? So we're seeing a mirroring of the same idea of cowardice, right? And of selfishness, fear, right? All his family's dead. And he basically becomes a de facto foster father because one, he's at the heart good-natured, in a sense. He's got one flaw, but much like many of these films, the person only has a few flaws, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to drill down into those flaws. It would be a lot more complicated if this was a character drama and the person was super complex, you know what I mean? With the 10,000 flaws that typical human beings have, So he's generally a good-natured person, except he's got that one flaw, so it allows us to focus on that, from a writing perspective. So, in other ways, he's very naturally caring and naturally fatherly. So, basically, he finds this young woman who is carrying around a baby, and she leaves the baby on a bench, and he's like, what the heck? He finds the baby, takes the baby in. Again, this is all within the first, 15 minutes of the film, so I'm not spoiling anything. And then he goes on to try to find the mom to give the baby back and be like, what the heck? Why don't you just leave a baby in the middle of rubble? Because all of Tokyo basically is just rubble, right? There's basically no economy, there's barely any food, and she abandons a baby. So he's got a baby, but he's angry, So he goes and he finds her, hiding in some random, alley or something, and confronts her and finds out that the baby's not actually her baby, and that she had basically rescued the baby from a burning house, and the baby's parents died. So she's also a foster mother of this child, in a sense. And so she basically says, I have no place to stay. I have no idea how I'm going to feed this baby. Can I stay with you for a few nights until I can find work, basically? And him, being a sort of good-natured person, reluctantly says yes. Now, this turns into forever, basically. Which is the last thing I'll say about that, which is that they end up living together, but not in a relationship, for a very long time. When I say not in the relationship, I mean there's, literally nothing. It's just, she's literally living in the same house as him, and that's it. But they act like they're husband and wife in every other way, if that makes sense. Which is that, is this natural? Would this happen in real life? Obviously not. This is a story. We're trying to get some good themes out of this. Themes of family. We're trying to do that. So, realistically, would this ever happen between two humans? Probably not. Between these two humans in this story? Yes. So, what I mean by that is that they take care of the baby together. He works basically for them. It's a single income household. He's the only one who's working. So he's working just to feed them, He takes up
his job still being in the military? Right?
No, this is post-war now, I should have said.
Okay, the war ends, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
This is post-war, so he gets a job demining the ocean of sea mines, basically, which is an extremely dangerous job, as you can imagine. And he has to confront his cowardice to take the job, right, in order to provide for what he sees as something greater than himself, which is this child and this mother that he's not even married to, right? And so he's developing, right, as a character. He goes through a development now, involving them. But his cowardice and his sort of fake self-pity, we all know what self-pity feels like, right? And most of the time, it's a different form of selfishness in a lot of ways, where you just kind of wallow in your own distress, for your own sake, right? He's kind of doing that, basically, where his whole family has died, and anybody who knows that he was a kamikaze pilot but lived is spitting at him, basically, and saying, look at what you did, and pointing at all of Tokyo, basically, and saying, you did this, and so on and so forth. So he has to grow through his family primarily, which I think is one of the most beautiful representations of character growth I've ever seen, which is that he has to grow to beat the monster, but it has to happen through his family first, which is a beautiful illustration, again, of the principle of subsidiarity. It's his family comes first, and he has to get over this self-pity, selfishness, right, and again, this is not just me imposing. It's crazy how much this film matches the way I think about the world. It's crazy. It's a beautiful thing. But, this is the film's perspective, too. This is not just my perspective. The film is saying that, this sort of manly duty can be worked out through the family, through having a family, basically. Okay. So he has a cowardice, which is committing to an actual romantic relationship with this woman that he knows probably has fallen in love with him at some point, like, or something like this. But he has sort of hardened his heart against that sort of reality. He hasn't even thought about it, right? And his friends are basically telling him, why don't you just marry her? You actually gets punched, I believe, for not marrying her, which I thought was the sickest thing to see in 2024, was someone punching someone for not marrying someone else. That's insane.
Cool.
That's awesome. That's so sick. We don't get things like that anymore, where it's like, you have a duty, bro. Like, and one, like, how is she not good enough for you? Like, what do you think? You're special, Like, she deserves better than this kind of callous treatment. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Just watch the film. So there you go. So, and then there's much more that goes along with that I can't spoil because spoilers. But family kind of ends up extending out to the community, like I said, because we've got layers going on here, which is that when the Godzilla seems to have a trajectory to come straight for Tokyo, straight for the harbor, right? And he's one of the only people who've actually ever seen Godzilla, right? He has to bring the community together around his brokenness, and he has to get over that, this wallowing, right? Bring the community around to save the community, which feels like a community. Said community, by the way, is the way in which we get the moralization of kamikazes, in the sense that they all decide that they are not going to treat human life cheaply this time. Which is a beautiful scene. I really like that. That scene where they're like, we could just, like, try to kamikaze Godzilla. He seems to respond to explosives, right? He seems to not like explosives in particularly unarmored parts of him. Whatever mechanics they've thrown into the film that ultimately don't really matter for their thematic purposes. Maybe we just. We can't get explosives to him with the resources that we have because the Japanese government isn't helping us, which is a very interesting detail. And internationally, no one's going to help us. This is where the United States is mentioned briefly, that they're not going to help us. So what we're going to do is maybe we should just, like, ferry a bunch of boats over, and because there are no drones back then, right? Ferry a bunch of boats over with explosives on it and just, like, try to, like, really, really explode it, Okay, and then they decide, maybe, but not yet. First, we will not treat human life cheaply, and we will try our best to do it without having to sacrifice people. Isn't that nuanced? Ain't that interesting? That's so good. Anyway. So yeah, the ultimate family, the sort of larger family, ends up being the community. Okay, great. Principle of subsidiarity, all up in this film, like crazy. That's it for writing. That's all I'll say about writing. Other than that, dialogue's great, although I don't speak Japanese. It read great, so, I read it, and nothing bothered me from reading it. And everything else was really good, so it inhabited its structure very well. Nothing seemed wasted. It never overstayed its welcome. Very well paced, etc. Next, I'll go over to direction, and this will be my last major segment, and then I'll kind of gloss over everything else, basically. And the direction was really great. And the reason I bring up direction is because of tone. The tone of this film, it nails a very precarious tone. It's a very hard one to nail, I think, in 2024, which is the blockbusters of, like, the Spielberg era. Which is that, and actually it's a little bit more serious than that. It's actually something in between that and what we get today for blockbusters. Excuse me. And how it threads this needle super well, which is that it's going to still be a very action movie, and the characters are going to still be kind of tropey in a way. You kind of got a mad scientist character, but he's not really, like, so mad scientist, you know what I mean? Like, that it's, like, a meme, you know what I mean? He's kind of just, like, is just molded into that trope, basically, and so you've got sort of this gang of characters that are put together in such a way that they are simple enough to hit very hard and take up space when they need to take up space during the runtime, and is very easy to digest for a general audience in a blockbuster setting. Kids could understand everything super well and understand the characters and where they come from super well without being a meme. And I love it. Like it didn't have to make fun of itself. It didn't have to like point at the fact that it's a blockbuster movie and why take me serious anyway. It was still serious and fun. Like that, like, and it nails it in such a way that you actually care. I don't remember the last time like I cared about the characters in a fun movie. Like, I cared about the characters themselves, not just like the outcome or something like this, or the theme even. Like, I cared about the actual characters and what happened to them, you know, because they're just fleshed out enough. They're just serious enough, but still just plain enough that they're super accessible, and you don't need to remove yourself from the genre of blockbuster in order to get this film done. So this is super, super good stuff. The other great thing about the tone is that there's no bathos. And again, if you're our friends of the podcast, I've talked about bathos way long ago, like, I don't remember the last time I talked about it.
Can you remind us?
Yes. Bathos is something that is extremely common in the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's actually like probably a defining feature of sort of a Marvelist style is bathos. There's a great YouTube video. If you search up bathos on YouTube, you can find a YouTube video explaining bathos in relationship to Marvel, and I agree with every critique that person says in that film of the use of bathos in Marvel movies. I think that video must have millions of views. It was super viral at the time. Excuse me. But bathos is the idea that, or is the writing technique, although I hate it, the writing technique of relieving tension through comedic relief, basically. You undercut moments of drama with a laugh. The reason I think that bathos is, like, you know, a little bit of bathos here and there's okay, but I don't think bathos is necessarily simultaneously synonymous with comedic relief. It's not exactly the same thing. So, bathos in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or maybe it's just a quantity problem, I'm not sure, or a placement problem, I'm not sure. But, if you've, again, watched the show for any length of time, you know that I prevent tension the same way that Hitchcock portrayed tension, which is that tension is the lifeblood of a film. And I'm not going to go into detail on what that means, but tension is what keeps the audience seated, locked in, engaged, and wanting to give you their mental submission. It's tension that does this, right? Undercutting significant moments with comedy that is typically unrelated to the moment. Maybe that's the problem, you know. Maybe I've just put the finger on it. So, like, it'll be like Thor is having a moment where he realizes that he's not strong enough, you know, to defeat the enemy, and that he's gonna have to find the ability to defeat the enemy somewhere else, and he has no idea where that's gonna come from, right? It's a moment of desperation, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, Hulk throws a rock at his head, and just hits his head, like, in the middle of that moment. And, slap joke. Wow, this is hilarious. Why does the audience laugh? Because oftentimes comedic laughter comes as a means of releasing tension. So, like, think about a nervous laugh, right? You know, where you're kind of, like, in an awkward situation and you end up laughing to sort of release this sort of inner tension. There are some comedic theorists. I'm not one. I don't know that much about comedy, so if I'm saying something wrong, let me know. But there are some comedic theorists who will say that comedy is all one big release in tension, which, if you think about sort of like the more like raunchy comedy, or like sort of like on the edge of like the Overton Windows sort of comedy, that's kind of a lot of times, you know, that makes a lot of sense, because like the person is saying something that perhaps we would not say, and laughter kind of comes as a release in tension, as the absurdity kind of comes to fruition, if that makes sense. So, you know, comedy as a release in tension. Bathos basically takes tension away where there should have been. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it decides to forfeit the tension for the sake of giving the audience a temporary release of dopamine. It's more of an addictive thing than it is a real storytelling method. At least when used improperly. Maybe I should qualify it like that. I would say that if you're going to use comedic relief, and in a good way, it should be after the tension has already dissipated. So, like, as a means to relax your audience, maybe going into a new act. So, like, the act's tension has already dissipated. You're not going to denouement. Instead, you're going to, give the audience a little laugh to move into the next thing that we're going into, if you're going to use comedic relief. That's what I would say. But there's no bathos at all in this film. There are no jokes in this film. Anything that's fun is fun for its own sake. It never steps outside of itself where someone says something in order to be funny, obviously, for the audience to laugh. That makes sense. Instead, I don't remember laughing at all. I don't remember any funny part of this film at all. But if there's anything like that, it's because there's a sheer joy sort of built up in this film, which is the action, thrilling, the sort of caring about the characters, super thrilling. And I think more than anything, you get smiles when you watch this film. You smile a lot. Which is just something nice about seeing a human being come into a more full human being. You enjoy that naturally. You watch that, you're like, that is so beautiful. Like, he's becoming more human in a way. He's becoming more, more good. So, I really like the tone. So that's the last thing I want to go into detail. I'll skim over the rest really quick. Cinematography, I must talk about that for any film because that's filmmaking, is picture, right? It's picture in motion. So, cinematography, fantastic. Everything feels super big. Definitely shot on large format film. VFX sometimes seemed super great. And sometimes, it just felt like they ran out of time. I'm not sure what's up with that. I saw some people saying there were budget issues with this film, which, for a big blockbuster, apparently it was a small budget. Which, if that's the case, I would not be able to tell were it not for, these random VFX shots that felt these random Godzilla moments that felt a little bit on the edge of, it looks like a mistake, that kind of thing. But the Godzilla himself is super menacing. I didn't think I would feel menaced by a giant dinosaur-looking thing that I've seen before in other contexts, so, not even unfamiliar. But very menacingly portrayed, and not focused on very much, because the film is, again, about themes. It's a thematic film and not really a monster movie. If you're going there to see a kaiju movie and that's absolutely the only thing that you wanted, you will be disappointed. So, that's not exactly what this film is. Instead, it focuses on people. Now, the color, super interesting color palette, I think, for a blockbuster. Actually, you can see it in the poster, which I think is one of the sickest posters I've seen in a long time. I love this poster.
I was wondering, what is the the mask?
I think it's a calligraphic swoosh that's supposed to represent Godzilla. It's kind of Godzilla shaped. I don't know, in a way.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know. It kind of makes a G too.
G. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But one of the coolest posters I've seen in a long time. Super in character with the film. But the color palette of the film is actually that teal peach thing, or that pastel teal peach thing that you can see in the poster, which is not a typical blockbuster grade at all. And that looks super neat. I really liked it. I kind of want to see more of it, so please do more. And apparently there will be more movies because there's a teaser at the end at another movie, which, by the way, this is called Godzilla Minus One, so I assume it's supposed to be a prequel, prelude to what it's supposed to be a series afterwards. But the movie is extremely complete. I actually couldn't tell at all that they were building anything out to be a universe or anything like that. It was just its own story, 100%. So I don't know what their plans are, but I really enjoyed that. So I don't mind if they're going to make more. They might suck, but at least the first one feels protected, if that makes sense, from the suck. So that's the cinematography. Camera movements, not terribly interesting for the most part. Is there a cinematic language? Not really. Do blockbusters tend to have much cinematic language? No, it's very kind of generic camera moves and stuff like this. There's not much of a system being put into place. And there are very few films that do that anyway, so I'm not going to dock it for that. And let's see here. Set design super cool. Everything felt super real. Great. And the acting was phenomenal. As many of these international films have been, the acting is some of the brightest points. For a film that's supposed to be quote-unquote dumb, the acting in this film is unreasonably good. So I really like that. I like the male lead. I like the female lead very much. I hope they make lots of money and go on to do great things. So that's my review, pretty much. I don't really see the need to comment on much else. Oh, sorry, I should. One more thing. Soundtrack. Fortunately, Ben's not here. The Godzilla theme, is awesome. It's so good. Go look it up now. It's just the old theme. Like, it's the old classic, the old theme. Like, the original Godzilla theme, I believe. Either that or it's, like, the second generation theme. Something like that. I had to, like, dig around to find it because I wanted to hear it again. Super memorable, which Ben would super enjoy because he says all the time that, it's such a shame that film scores are not memorable anymore. This theme was super memorable, and maybe that's because it's a classic theme kind of revived. It's reorchestrated and everything, so it sounds super big, bold, and menacing. Awesome theme. The rest of the music is also really good. I would say actually above average, but it's not common. Like, there's not a lot of music in the film. That might actually be a budget thing as well, I'm not sure. But there's a lot of scenes where there's just no music, and I kind of wish they were there because I think it's the kind of film that kind of would benefit from more constant music, kind of like in the vein of classic like Spielbergian, Star Wars-esque, blockbusters. But that's just a nitpick. I really enjoyed the music where it was. So there you go. That's my review of Godzilla. If I'm wrong about anything, let me know in the comments. If you hated this movie, like the 2% of people out there, because you're a moron. No, I'm just kidding. If you hated this movie, I would love to know why. Let me know. And I gave this film, I believe, a 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. And probably a full half point of that, or if not a whole point of that, is context. Context. It's when it came out. Because if it came out in the 90s or something, no one might remember this film, which is crazy to think about. But context is important to art. It is. It's highly relevant. You're making the film for this time. It might be a classic and endure, but you make a film for now. That's why we need to, no matter if we have 1,000 films, we need to make 1,000 more. You know what I mean? Because context always changes. So, yeah, there you go.
Nice. It's interesting. I actually kind of, given the this review and then also the fact that it seems like literally everybody likes it, I have to check it out. But he says done in the theaters, basically. Yeah,
unfortunately, but. I mean,
I
wouldn't mind owning the Blu-ray, so...
It usually takes some time, right? They don't, do that immediately after theaters, do they?
It's kind of been changing lately. You can find a lot of the more popular releases will release the Blu-ray soon after the theatrical run is done. But there are still a lot of films that do the traditional gap, between the film release. There's actually an interesting Matt Damon video, I'll have to find it and link it, but this is actually a little bit more recent, I believe, or I'm not sure. There's a Matt Damon video where he talks about how physical media releases used to be a second release for your film, and they were kind of portrayed that way. It was like a second opening, and that really benefited the film because it brought new life into it and it continued the cultural conversation of the film, this idea of community, right, of the art form you're making. It kind of kept it in the forefront of people's minds, even 6 months after it released,
Right.
So, so I don't know. This is an international film, so I have,
Oh, yeah, standards might be a little bit harder to obtain. I don't know. Well, probably not. If they're releasing it in movie theaters here, they're probably gonna release movies here, or the Blu-ray here.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they are. I'm just saying I don't know. The standards can change depending on when they release it or whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah.
In the background, I've been trying to. I was like, what are 3D models? Like I just couldn't figure anything out. But I decided to do like the Japanese flag, but like just like literally like a flat version of it, right? Like as if almost as if I just made it in like Adobe Illustrator or something like that, but only with shaders. And oh my goodness, shader math is like kicking my butt right now. I'm trying really hard, but having to express the geometry of the imperial flag with just math is kind of tough. So the circle was easy. The circle was so easy. It's like, oh, I got it. This is gonna be so easy. The radial lines, like I can't. I'm using like you just like use the coordinate, and then you can use like trigonometry, right, to like figure out like where like the angle, right?
That does sound very annoying.
But wait, I think I figured. I don't know if I figured it out. Okay, I don't know. I had a potential thought, but yeah, it's tough. So no 3 mile posts today unless I figure it out very soon. So
yes. yeah. Just super interesting. I think if not, like, hopefully, like, this film for a lot of Americans help them rethink about World War II, which is an extremely complicated topic that no one wants to talk about. We create all these mythologies about World War II, and they are truly, a lot of times, purely mythologies. And humans can differ from each other a lot, but there are some things about humans that are like, kind of run through the gamut, and we've gone through a lot of dehumanizing language about other people, because of the Cold War, because of World War II, and it's kind of time. It doesn't... Listen, every time I say something like this, I feel like I can hear the voice of the audience going, but they did bad things, but they're bad people. Oh my... Okay, like, there's something called realism, which is just a school of thought, which is kind of like just literally it's just peering at reality for what it is. That's pretty much what the school of thought is just looking at reality barefaced. Like, not, there's no coding over it. You're kind of stripping away what you want reality to look like in a sort of extreme way to look at reality for what it is. Now, can you fully do that? No human can, obviously, but like, you're trying to get there, right? So if you're trying to understand what happened in World War II, you need to have a realism approach, or realistic, sort of the school of realism approach to the events and the things. And so you have to get into the minds of each party involved, and you might find it ugly because objectively it might be ugly, and that's fine, but like, that doesn't make everything inside of that time period, everything inside of a whole population totally depraved. It doesn't, even if a large portion of people are totally depraved, right? It's much more complicated, and hopefully, like, some of the stuff that we've covered on the show can hopefully encourage people to be more nuanced in general with how they approach life, because we can do a massive disservice to our fellow human being by just painting these broad, whatever, while still remaining extremely objective. I will never say beauty is fully subjective. Actually, beauty is objective. I will always defend that, at least until I feel like I've been disproven or something. But to me, beauty is objective with subjective components, right? So, I'm not afraid of hard, definitive statements. It's just that to arrive at good, hard, definitive statements about factual things, you need a realistic approach, to understand reality for what it is. So, I don't know why I threw that tidbit in. Oh, it's because of the bomb. Yeah, because this movie hopefully will help people understand at least some of the Japanese psyche, if not from back then, but at least the Japanese psyche today, and that's extremely valuable, especially if you want to understand geopolitics. Like, if you're a geopolitical sort of thinker, like, I wouldn't put myself in an analyst category or anything like this, but I certainly am interested in geopolitics. So looking at Japanese media and understanding where they're coming from is going to be extremely important, So please understand what the filmmakers are trying to convey. They're not even talking to you, by the way. They're talking to Japan, So understand that this is actually an internal conversation happening through the film, and then trying to understand what is actually happening in their minds. They're not making a simple statement such as, wow, we were great in World War II, because the film has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with like humanity, right? Okay, that's my diatribe over. Seeing how so many people liked it, I think that at least everyone was fine with it. So,
Yep.
Any closing thoughts from the from you or the chat? Any closing thoughts?
I gotta see it, but no, I mean I haven't seen any Godzilla movie actually. Only big monster movie I've seen is King Kong. That's it.
Oh yeah, I've seen Kong Skull Island. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, that's the one with Samuel L. Jackson.
Jackson, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I've seen.
That's a pretty ridiculous movie. That's a completely different tone.
Yeah, and there is a crossover, right? Godzilla King Kong thing.
Yes, there is.
But they're not like supposed to be from the same like universe, right? Like they're like
Yes,
different.
they are.
Like, oh, they are. Wait, what?
Historically, yeah, they.
I mean, I thought that Godzilla had a bunch of different monsters, but I didn't know King Kong was one of them.
No. So he's so it's kind of like the MCU, like of the old.
It's
like where like they start out as different IPs and then
oh, interesting.
they become it's like called like the Mega Monster Universe or something, or I can't remember.
Wait, so what is King Kong like mean something too? Is he like is he usually representative of something?
I haven't. Isn't there like I don't know actually anything about King Kong whatsoever. I think I remember seeing. This is before I was skeptical of such claims, but I remember seeing way back in the day people talking about King Kong as a sort of representative of black people.
That's not good.
So that wouldn't be good if that's true. But I that's literally just me repeating basically gossip. So take that with a grain of salt. Maybe I should.
It says Marion C. Cooper became fascinated by gorillas at the age of 6. He's getting a book by his uncle. Blah blah. Book was written. Okay. PP up. The picture of the gorilla. Okay. Okay. Apparently, he comes. Given a book that chronicled the adventures of Paul du Chaillu in Africa, and became fascinated with the stories involving gorillas in particular, and his depiction of a particular gorilla known for its extraordinary size that the natives described as invincible and the king of the African forest.
Dang.
The book later described it as a hellish dream creature that was half man, half beast. Wow.
Oh boy.
Okay, well, I don't know. Yeah, interesting.
Well, clearly, obviously one is a Japanese IP and the other one's an American one. I don't know how historically they how they historically. It might actually be technically an American IP, like in terms of like it was bought out or something. I have no idea, but, but I don't know what the actual history of them meshing together. I just know that they meshed together like a long time ago. At some point, like MCU style.
Right. What does Kong mean? Is that because King Kong is Donkey Kong, right? Those are like it has to be like related in some sense, right? What is a Kong?
That's true. I have no idea. Imagine Donkey Kong is made just to like take on just to invoke the King Kong, but they can't use King Kong because it's a taken IP.
Well, Donkey Kong doesn't even look like a donkey. He looks more like a gorilla type thing because he stands on 2 feet, typically.
Yeah. Huh.
Huh. Wait. Okay. Miyamoto named Beauty and the Beast and the 1933 film King Kong as an influence. You don't say.
Wait. Oh, wait, that makes sense. I just thought about that. That makes sense.
A 1982 lawsuit alleged that Donkey Kong violated his trademark of King Kong. Lawsuit failed when Nintendo's lawyer discovered the Universal had won a lawsuit years prior by declaring that King Kong was actually in public domain. No way. Wait, they're like, hey, it's actually ours. But in a previous lawsuit, they're like, no, this is not ours.
Wow.
That's crazy. Interesting. So King Kong is public domain. Oh, interesting. Wait, so do people even have are these things even related to each other? You know what I'm saying? These various King Kong like renditions, or just like anyone can make one?
I guess if it's public domain, then anyone can make one.
Oh, all right. Interesting.
I wouldn't be surprised if Godzilla's in public domain. It's so old. It's like the oldest it might be one of the oldest IP like film franchises ever.
Mm.
This is like comes like straight off the heels of World War II. You know, Godzilla. You know, sort of Cold War franchise.
He first appeared in 1954, but King Kong was 1933.
Oh, King Kong's older. Cool.
Yeah.
That probably makes sense if I think about the images of both.
Yeah.
Godzilla looks a little better in the 50s version.
Yeah.
Actually, it looks pretty good for the 50s, if I remember correctly. 1950s Godzilla.
Over time, King Kong. Over time, was bestowed the title of Eighth Wonder of the World. What the heck?
Wow. I mean, this doesn't look half bad. I'm going to put this in the chat. This is
All right. Let's see.
This is 1950s Godzilla.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. This looks like a painting.
It does kind of. I think it's because the background is probably a painting, but
Yeah,
I'm
the
sure
background, yeah.
Godzilla's a figurine of some sort, and it's a miniature set.
Right. How they did the fire? I wonder. Like at the building on the left?
I think that might be painting too.
What, the painting comes off the building? Unless the building is part of the painting of the whole background.
Yeah. Actually, I'm not sure. I mean, there's a lot of tricks you can do with depth perception, you know, if you're good at it.
Right.
But back then, they had to be so much craftier. But all these things. It's so impressive. Oh my. This is... I have to post this in the chat. If you're not in the Discord, like... I don't know what to tell you. You can't see these images, I guess. But so you should join the Discord. Link in the description.
What is this?
I think that's how they did it. It was a dude in a suit.
Oh, it was that. That's the real suit size.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they made like a pretty large miniature, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, it's like it's bigger than a human, which I guess makes sense, right? You just want to make it as big as possible while still being able to like use it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. It's weird to think that like if like the guy left the suit, like he would look huge. You know what I'm saying? Like in like the above picture.
Yeah, I assume the lady's kind of short.
Maybe yeah. That neck is long. Jeez.
Yeah, I don't know where the eye holes go.
Yeah.
There might not be eye holes, depending, because some like old like miniature costume style stuff are super uncomfortable. Like he might be like heating up in it because it's not designed to be comfortable. It's designed to look good, you know.
Right.
So he might not even have eye holes, depending.
Wow. I think in what's it, Sesame Street? Yeah. Oh my gosh, what's the yellow bird's name? I can't believe I forgot. Big Bird. I think his I don't care if it's him or someone else. I think it's Big Bird, who's controlled by like a dude, but like the head is just an arm being outstretched up because you can't actually like get a head in there. So look at the Big Bird.
That's a little disturbing.
Big Bird. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure like. Yeah, wait, is it Big Bird? No, but Big Bird has two arms, so like, I feel like it'd be hard to like get them both to move, you know? Maybe it's not Big Bird, maybe it's someone else. But I don't know, there's some character, right? I don't remember from what, but like it's just an arm being outstretched up.
Yeah. Yep.
Alright.
Alright, I think that's it. Yeah, I got nothing else. So hopefully next week when we come back we'll be whole again, and it'll be a good time. Thank you so much for our awesome supporters. They truly make the show different. I'm actually going to have a conversation, I haven't told them yet, with my co-hosts about potentially hiring a producer. So there's an opportunity that randomly came across my desk in that sense, and we can justify such things because of the support that we're getting from our supporters. Not that we won't be taking a net L, you know. Of course we will be. But at the very least, you know, we have money in the bank because of K Kairos. Find him on Twitch, by the way, at Kai Kairos, I believe. Kairos. 99 Crime, who has a YouTube channel. Check him out. Who else? Post, who is on Discord. And Alex Egbert, who has several Discord servers. If you come onto our server, you can ask him about his projects and Discord servers, etc., and he will gladly give it to you. Plus, all those people have been on the show before. All of them, every single one of them. So if you want to see a show where we interview one of them or they participate in the show, definitely check that out in our show history by searching their names. So
yep.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And if you want to join them by supporting the show, there's a link in the description. You can go to mixedmediapodcast.com. That works perfectly fine as well. But if you want to go directly there, if you're on Rumble, there's a big pink salmon-colored join button thing. You can click. Brings you directly to locals. I'm very proud to say that probably by next week we will be up and running restreaming based off of Rumble Studio. So again, I'm a big fan of Rumble and the people and what they're doing over there. A big fan. So I've not been a fan of Restream for a bunch of reasons. Looking to transition off of Restream, which one of the reasons is that they put their stupid website in front of our description automatically on our live streams, and I'd have to go back and manually on the top, bro. On the top. Like, I get that.
Not even like with the emails where it's like, sent on iOS with the link on the bottom, It's like on the top.
It just irks me. So I will be switching over to Rumble Studio, which does basically the same thing, all for free, and I'll be able to see Rumble comments on the side of the screen. On the left, you'll see Rumble comments coming up there too soon, hopefully, if I can get everything to work properly. So I'm super excited about that, and thank you for the people who watch on Rumble, who like the videos on Rumble. You guys are fantastic and awesome. Please talk. Leave a comment. Love to chat with you. And, wait, where was I on my diatribe? I was like, mixedmedia.locals.com if you're anybody else. You can go to mixedmedia.locals.com to support us for $5 a month. Actually, it's still $3 a month. I still forgot to change the sale price. So you can get our membership for a Black Friday sales price for $3 a month. One of the major benefits that you get is this live whiteboard on the side. You can draw on that. Here, I'll demonstrate for you. Since we've got ending a little
live
early,
demo.
I can go over here and I can scribble a heart. Wait, I have to take over a layer. I don't have permission. Dang it. Okay, well, I have to do this later. I'd have to sign in and everything. But that's the live whiteboard. It's a simple website that you log on to, and you can literally draw as we're talking on the show. You can make fun of us. You can make memes. You could draw a beautiful piece of artwork. That's actually been one of my dreams. I just want some random, really good drawer to draw a beautiful painting while we're talking about art. That would literally seal my life will be complete if someone comes along and does that. So if you could go to mixedmedia.locals.com, you'll get a link to the live whiteboard, and you'll be able to draw during the show. Within very limits, of course. I should always say that, but the limits are extreme. So just don't be a weird person, and you're probably fine. So you can go ahead and do that, and definitely check out our Discord as we've been plugging throughout the show. So thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
We will see you next week, Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Bye.
Yep.
Look, tell a man no trouble. I don't want beef, man. I just want vibes. Big man like me, no need for the telephone hype. I got too much getting online. One rule, then dead I'm on site. Wrong move, I bet they gon' ride. No need for the telephone hype, nah. No need for the snoozing. Big whip outside, I'm cruising. Big stick inside, no losing. Better watch out for the snake and Judas is. Don't ask them who this is. I bet they know what I'm moving in. I bet I show it into a dim. How you hate and then lose again? How you hating my vibes? Why you wasting my time? Getting hype on my line. Tell a man I don't want feedback, I just want relax. Brand new whip, two-tone, I need that brand new hit. Lean back, brand new bits I live in. We pack, man, you never gon' like us. Get them on sight now, let them on light. That way they know I'm more righteous. Look at my life, I'm living alright. I'm nice, you know I'm alright. Cause looking like Christ, no need for the hype or fight or telephone vipers. No need for the